For years, I felt completely trapped. I was stuck in a soul-crushing cycle of losing and then gaining back the same 15 pounds. It was like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I tried everything: the fad diets that promised the world, the brutal workout routines that just left me exhausted, and all the little hacks that never led to real change. With every failed attempt, I just got more frustrated and felt even more hopeless. Sound familiar? It's classic yo-yo dieting, and way too many of us have been there. But then, something clicked. I finally cracked the code to losing weight for good, and I ended up dropping 30 pounds. The best part? It wasn't some magic pill, a crazy restrictive diet, or a secret-only fitness gurus. No. It was a simple, proven method built on 2 key ideas that anyone can follow. It completely changed my life, and I'm going to share it with you step by step. Section 1. The problem. My story of frustration. Before we get into the how, I think it's important you understand my why, because I have a feeling a lot of you might be in the exact same spot I was. My journey was not a straight line. It was a messy, winding road full of potholes. I swear, I was collecting failed diets like stamps in a passport. I remember one year, I went all in on ultra-low carb. I read the book, got totally hyped, and cut out everything from bread to fruit. And sure, the scale moved down fast in the first 2 weeks. I lost about 8 pounds and thought, this is it, I've found the secret. But I was also cranky, exhausted, and literally dreaming about a piece of toast. The second I let carbs back into my life, the weight didn't just come back, it brought friends. I ended up heavier than when I started, which happens all the time when a diet is just too restrictive. Then came the only eat in an 8-hour window phase. I was obsessed, watching the clock like a hawk, but that just made me stuff myself during my eating window, because I was terrified of the fasting period ahead. My body wasn't learning about nutrition, it was just learning how to panic and binge. These diets focus on strict rules instead of building healthy habits, which is exactly why they fail for so many people. With every failure, the voice in my head got meaner. I started to think maybe I just didn't have the discipline, that my body was broken, and that negative self-talk is a huge barrier that we don't talk about enough. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You think you're going to fail, so you subconsciously make choices that make you fail, and the cycle continues. The emotional weight was so much heavier than the actual pounds, it crushed my confidence, my energy, and my happiness. I was stuck, and I knew something had to change, not just in my diet, but in my head. Section 2. The turning point. The code was simplicity. My big breakthrough didn't come from a new book or a trendy influencer. It came because I was just done. I was tired of the extremes, tired of failing, and tired of feeling bad about myself. I decided to stop looking for a quick fix and instead looked at the boring, unsexy science of how weight loss actually works. What I found was both completely underwhelming and totally revolutionary. The answer wasn't a radical overhaul, but quiet consistency. The code I cracked was this. Sustainable weight loss isn't about what you can force yourself to do for 30 days. It's about what you can actually live with for 365 days and beyond. The whole thing had to start in my mind, not in the kitchen. I had to switch from a dieting mindset, which is always temporary, to a lifestyle mindset, which is about building habits for the long haul. This meant letting go of the all-or-nothing thinking. One cookie didn't ruin my week. Missing a workout wasn't a catastrophe. This shift was everything. It let me see setbacks not as failures but as learning opportunities. I realized I'd been making it all way too complicated. I didn't need a bunch of rules. I needed a simple, repeatable system. So, I boiled it all down to 2 things: a gentle calorie deficit and moving my body in a way I didn't hate. That's it. That was the entire plan. No forbidden foods, no punishing workouts, just a promise to myself to do 2 simple things consistently. This realization took all the pressure off and, for the first time, losing 30 pounds felt possible. Section 3. The proven method. Part 1. The simple calorie deficit. Alright, let's get into the details. The first pillar of my 30-pound weight loss was a calorie deficit. Don't let that term scare you. It's the absolute foundation of weight loss. You simply can't lose fat without it. All it means is eating fewer calories than your body burns. A safe and sustainable goal is to lose about 1 to 2 pounds a week, which you can hit with a daily deficit of around 500 to 1,000 calories. I aimed for the low end of that, a 500-calorie deficit. It's a gradual pace, but it's what actually works long-term and stops your metabolism from freaking out like it does with crash diets. Instead of cutting out entire food groups, I started by just tracking what I normally ate for a week in an app. You have to do this. You can't make changes if you don't know where you're starting from. Studies show that people who track their food are way more successful with weight loss because it keeps them accountable. Once I had my daily average, my goal was just to knock off about 500 calories. Here's how I did it without feeling miserable. It wasn't about eating less, it was about eating smarter. I focused on simple swaps. That fancy coffee shop latte, I switched it for a black coffee with a splash of milk. That saved me almost 300 calories right there. Instead of chips with my lunch, I'd have baby carrots or an apple. Another 150 calories saved. At dinner, I didn't ban carbs, I just controlled the portions. I'd fill half my plate with roasted veggies and lean protein first, then add a smaller scoop of pasta. It's a simple trick that focuses on adding good stuff in, not just taking bad stuff out. I also made sure to eat more protein and fiber. Protein and fiber are your best friends. They help you feel full and satisfied, which makes it so much easier to stay in that deficit. I never told myself, you can't have that. I just asked, is there a slightly better option? This simple question killed the feeling of deprivation that had wrecked all my other attempts. It wasn't a diet. It was just a series of small, smart choices that added up over time. Section 4. The Proven Method Part 2. The Manageable Workout. The second pillar was exercise. In the past, I'd jump into these insane 5-day-a-week programs. I'd be incredibly sore, exhausted, and after about 2 weeks I'd burn out and quit. This time, my only rule was, it has to be manageable. The goal is to find something you can stick with for the long haul, not just for a few weeks. For real results, you want a mix of cardio and strength training. Cardio is great for burning calories, and strength training builds muscle, which revs up your metabolism so you burn more calories even when you're just sitting around. My plan was to do both, but to start slow. I committed to just 4 days of exercise a week. Here's what that looked like. 2 days of cardio. I needed something I wouldn't dread. For me, that was just walking outside while listening to a podcast. That's it. I'd aim for 30 to 40 minutes. Health experts suggest at least 150 minutes of this kind of moderate activity a week, and this got me most of the way there. If the weather sucked, I'd use the elliptical at the gym. The key was that it was low impact and I actually enjoyed it, so I stopped making excuses. 2 days of strength training, for me, this was non-negotiable. When you lose weight, you can also lose muscle, which is bad for your metabolism. Strength training prevents that. I spent about 30 to 45 minutes, twice a week, doing basic compound exercises that work multiple muscles at once. Squats, lunges, push-ups on my knees at first, and rows. You don't need a fancy plan. Just hitting the major muscle groups like your legs, back, and chest a couple of times a week has been shown to be incredibly effective for keeping muscle while losing fat. And that was my big workout plan. It wasn't some epic movie montage. It was just a reasonable schedule that actually fit into my life. I also started adding more lifestyle activity, taking the stairs, going for a short walk on my lunch break. All that extra movement really adds up. By choosing activities I could actually manage, exercise stopped being a chore and just became part of my week. Section 5. The After. Sustainability and a New Mindset. Losing the 30 pounds felt amazing, but the real win wasn't the number on the scale. It was how I felt. I had more energy, my confidence was back, and I was finally free from the mental prison of dieting. The method I used didn't just help me lose weight, it gave me the skills to keep it off. I later learned about the National Weight Control Registry, which tracks people who successfully lose weight and maintain it. And guess what? The huge majority of them do it through diet and exercise, not fads. Keeping the weight off uses the same skills. You don't have to be in a deficit forever, but you do have to be mindful of your energy balance, calories in versus calories out. I slowly added calories back in until I found my maintenance level. More importantly, the mindset shift stuck. I learned to eat mindfully, paying attention to when I'm actually hungry, not just stressed or bored. I learned that if I have an indulgent weekend, it's not a failure. I just get right back to my normal routine at the next meal. That resilience is maybe the most important skill of all. I still exercise regularly because it's just who I am now. I still weigh myself once a week, not to obsess, but just to check in and stay accountable. And I make sure I get enough sleep, which is so underrated for managing weight. This isn't a diet that I'm on or off, this is just how I live. So that's the whole story. No magic tricks, no big secrets. I lost 30 pounds and kept it off by focusing on 2 things. A simple 500-calorie deficit and a workout routine I could actually stick with. It's about ditching the quick fix and embracing the power of small, consistent habits. It's about being kind to yourself and focusing on progress, not perfection. If you feel stuck where I was, please hear me. You are not broken. You don't lack willpower. You might just be making it too complicated. This whole journey starts with believing you can change and then taking one tiny, manageable step. If I can do it, I promise you, you can too. Now I want to hear from you. What's one small, simple change you can commit to this week? Maybe it's swapping one soda for water, or just going for a 10-minute walk. Drop a comment below. Let's support each other.